So, what's up, guys? Back to economy and back to the point of economics and back to the point of the debts that countries have. And first of all, I'm your researcher, and today I've gone to finance because I'm a computer scientist. I'm a machine learning and natural language processing researcher. But on top of natural language processing, I have to look at the national finance of countries who are my targets. Now, I was showing you gross debt. What does gross debt consist? It consists of all liabilities that require payment, all payments of interest or principal by the debtor to the creditor. This is from indianexpress.com at debt or debts of the future, and this includes debt liabilities in the form of SDRs, currency, and deposits. That's all liabilities in the GFSM 2001 system are debt except for equity and investment, that is as noted in the IMF. Debt can be valued at current market, nominal, or face value. Kati, we have left that, and this was according to World Economic Forum, April 2025, showing you the countries who have the highest gross debt, and of which most of these are first world countries. That is Japan, that is Italy, that is United States, France, Canada, where most of the people would love to go and enjoy life. But not knowing these countries are heavily indebted, but they have good life. So I want to tell you an analogy. My sister wanted a car, but he couldn't buy the car immediately. So he had to go and borrow money from the bank, and he bought a car. He drove the car. Within 2 years, he completed paying the money. He owned the car. During that time, he had a very high debt. He bought land. He's eating eating food from that land, but he's counted that he has a debt in the bank, of which debt he has to pay every month. He's enjoying his life. Now there is one person who has not gotten money from the bank, and he goes to work every day to get 10,000 to eat. He has no land, he has no where to, he has no something that he owns. So that is why I tell you people, debt is very important, because you find people have money, they are not using it. So you have to go and borrow and develop yourself. Now let me tell you countries, top 10 countries with the highest national debt according to World Population View. Number one is Lebanon. This one is it is in the Middle East. We have Japan, 256%. We have Sudan, we have Eritrea, we have Singapore, we have Greece, we have Argentina, we have Italy, Venezuela, Cape Verde. The top 10 countries, the highest percentage of gross domestic product, but they also have national debts. They have a big national debt. So the United States is number one because it has the highest GDP, but it also has the highest national debt. Then we have China, Japan, UK, France, Italy, India, Germany, Canada, Brazil. All these countries, we would their people they reject thousands of visa applications for people who want to visit them. Mhm. Now let me tell you, how did Japan get its debt? Japan, let me enlarge my screen. Japan has the highest national percentage of national debt in the world at 2255.07% of its national GDP, according to 2022 data, just behind Lebanon at almost 350%. The Japanese economy experienced stagnation during the 1990s, which led to government launching several initiatives such as selling bonds and bailing out banks and insurance companies with low interest credit to help reboot the struggling economy in the 2000s. Banking institutions had to be audited, consolidated, and even nationalized. While these actions arguably salvaged Japan's economy, they also added greatly to the country's national debt. Since that time, additional concerns such as the Great Recession of 2008, the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster, and the COVID-19 pandemic have complicated efforts to to combat the country's debt. But if you ask majority of the people, they would prefer to go and live in Japan because despite this debt that is high, the 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 standard of life continues. The trains keep operating. Everything keeps operating as normal. So the normal person cannot know that there is debt in the country. Actually, Japan still maintains the mixed scholarship that is one of the most prestigious scholarships in the world that most African countries fight to get, but they have a debt that is so high. United States. It boasts the world's biggest national debt in terms of dollar amount, and its highest economy resolves to a debt GDP ratio of approximately 121.3%. It exceeds its income most years. The spending exceeds its income most years, and US has not had a budget surplus since 2001. Perhaps surprising, the countries the US is most in debt are Japan, which itself has significant debt, and China, which is often viewed as United States' greatest economic competitor. Now, United States has debts with China. China also has debts. China is currently over 13.7 trillion. No country in Africa has a GDP of trillions. Actually, no African country has a GDP of $500 billion. Yeah. But these guys have $13.7 trillion. Uganda's gold deposits are estimated at $12 trillion. These guys have a debt of $13.7 trillion. However, because of China's massive economy, the country's debt is only 76.98% of its GDP. Hmm? So, they say that an International Monetary Fund report from 2015 stated that China's debt was relatively low, that is when it was 41.54%, and many economists have dismissed worries over the size of the debt, both in its overall size and relative to China's GDP. Currently, China has the world's second largest economy and largest population is approximately 1.412 billion people. Russia, the debt ratio was the lowest in the world at 16.99% in 2021, though the country though with Ukraine, which began, has increased the ratio to 18.89%, and Russia is usually one of the 10 least indebted countries in the world. The Russia's debt is a total of 424 billion US dollars, which is greater than any GDP of any African country. Reason why Russia has a lot of oil and gas, and it's mainly all the weapons, everything they make it for themselves. Food they grow it for themselves. So they really likely need money from anybody or need anything from anybody. So we move to another part. Hmm. Uh-huh. Today I'm teaching you economics, though I'm not an economist. But I want you to have a view that when a country is borrowing, that having a debt is not a problem. I know there is a biblical term that says that the borrower is that the one who borrows is a slave of the one who has lent him the money. Uh-huh. So as such, some Christians don't want to borrow, and that's why they remain in poverty because they want to use only their money. If he's getting 1 million, he wants to save until he reaches 5 million to buy a car. Meanwhile, in those 5 million, you cannot save it. Yet, if you went and took a loan and bought a cow, you would drink milk and keep paying slowly until you finish. So, we talked about the country called Sudan, and we don't know how did it get that. There's that huge burden of debt. So Sudan is forecast to be 128% its debt of GDP. This figure is more than double the average of emerging markets. And you notice that when Sudan was under Bashir, the country was stable. Now, you want you to see this. Mainly, what caused this? Because of prolonged internal conflicts, economic mismanagement, international sanctions, and devastating economic impact of South Sudan's succession in 2011 drastically reduced oil revenues. These factors forced Sudan to rely heavily on external borrowing to finance the budget deficits, fueling chronic economic instability. The debt burden significantly limits fiscal space, in turn restricting investment in critical infrastructure, public services, and economic diversification, thus hindering growth and development. While recent international engagement and debt initiatives have begun addressing Sudan's debt challenges, the country remains highly vulnerable. Persistent political instability, including the devastating civil war that has played out since 2023, and limited economic reforms to continue, making it difficult for the government to manage its debt burden. Uh-huh. So now I want you to show you. Mm, Let's go to another state. We are looking at another IMF mapper. And most of you are talking about Burkina Faso, that they paid off all their debt. That is a lie. According to IMF 2023, Burkina Faso still has a debt of 55.9% of its GDP ratio. You get? They still have what? A debt. 55.9%. Because there is no person who has no debt. There is no country without a debt. Yeah. Even Finland has 75.83% debt ratio. Yeah, this is something showing the GDP and then the debt of the countries according to IMF government debt. You see? Hmm. So let me show you another countries with the largest debt burdens. This one, this was 2020 before COVID. Venezuela had the highest debt, 304%. Now, there's another country that has taken its position, which is Sudan. So, Japan, 254. Greece by that time, Italy, Portugal, United States, Spain, Cyprus. So, let's go to the most indebted countries in the world. I want you to compare and see that how things are moving. You see Japan, 2007. In a period of 10 years, you see how much debt it had accumulated. Greece, Italy, Portugal. United States, Belgium,